I'm literally so excited for this video. I've been wanting to reread these for forever and I keep putting them off because I'm like, read new books. But I'm like, why am I keeping myself from rereading some of my favorites? So that's what we're gonna be doing today. I'm going to be rereading the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy. I am just gonna do Off-Campus. I thought about doing Briar U in this video too, but I think if I end up doing that, I'm gonna do a separate video on it. I've been seeing these getting a lot of love on TikTok lately, which is why I was like, I just felt like doing a reread, and I'm so glad to see other people finding them and loving them, because I truly just think that these are, I mean, they were in my top 10 of 2020, and I would say they would still be in like my top 10 reads like overall ever. So I'm gonna do a reread vlog on all of these, see if any of my thoughts, opinions change, because mostly I've been seeing a lot of people loving Tucker, really into Tuck, really into The Goal. I mean, obviously everyone seems to consistently love The Score, which is Dean's book, and a lot of Logan and Grace slander, which I just don't stand for, because Logan and Grace are my favorite. To start off, to kind of do like a bit of a ranking system, so I'm going to rank them before the reread and then rank them all again after the reread. So I'm going to rank them by book, couples, girls, and boys, and see if my ratings change after the reread, see if any of my opinions have changed over time, because it has been a long time since I've read these. I just really hope that I love these as much as I used to, because you know how sometimes you have those reads where you just absolutely love, and then you go back and you reread them and you're like, that wasn't as good as I remember it being. I'm like scared. I don't want that to happen to these precious babies. So, okay, let's start off with ranking the books. So, my bangs are not cooperating with me today. We're just gonna not comment on that, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna rank these from favorite to least favorite. Now with that said, I gave 3 of these 5 stars and 1 of these 4 stars, and I truly love each of these books. So no shade, no tea to any of the books or any of the characters that come in last. It's just how it was off of that first original read last year. So my favorite book to start with, my original rankings, is going to be The Mistake. That's book 2. I will not tolerate any John Logan or Grace Ivers slander on this channel. This book is perfection to me. And then my second favorite was The Deal. And these two were like so neck and neck. So really, I don't know what really pulls The Mistake over The Deal, because I love them pretty much equally, but there's just a little something extra about The Mistake that I love. And then third would be The Score. I remember loving this one too. It definitely did not have the same like draw for me as The Deal and The Mistake, but I'd still given this one 5 stars. And lastly, The Goal. This was the only one that I gave 4 stars to originally, so I'm interested to see if my opinion will change on this at all. Okay, then a quick rundown on the couples from favorite to least favorite original rankings. I have Garrett and Hannah at number 1. I don't know why they beat out Logan and Grace just a little bit, because I do like Logan and Grace's book more, but there's just something about Garrett and Hannah where I truly just think that they are like soulmates. So Garrett and Hannah are number 1, no surprise. Logan and Grace are number 2, Dean and Allie are number 3, and Sabrina and Tucker are number 4. And then ranking the guys, I would put Mr. John Logan at number 1, Garrett Graham at number 2, Dean DeLaurentis at number 3, and John Tucker at number 4. And then for the girls, I would rank them Hannah at number 1, Grace at number 2, Allie at number 3, and Sabrina at number 4. So as you can see a pattern that it's like The Deal and The Mistake kind of always competing in each category, and then pretty much along the bottom it's The Goal. Now we're gonna jump ahead. You'll be seeing all of the vlog footage that I will be filming here, and then at the end of the video I'm gonna come back, recap any thoughts that I may have changed, and also I'm gonna redo my rankings and see if they change over the course of this reread. I'm only on chapter 3, but I just forgot how much I love Elle Kennedy's writing. First of all, I think her dialogue is great. It's just very natural, and it feels very youthful, like to the characters, because they're college-aged kids. Like their dialect is just, you know, it's gonna be more casual. It's gonna be more like shooting the shit with their friends, and it feels that way, but it doesn't feel cheesy. Like it feels very authentic, which I love. I absolutely love the boys. Oh my god, the 4 of them together in scenes, I just can't get over it. And her writing is also very self-aware too. Like whenever something is kind of cheesy, like she acknowledges it and the characters like make a joke about it. And I just love that. Like you can do that in books, but then when you are self-aware about it, it's just unique. This is truly like the greatest combo ever. trash looking, laying down, and horrible lighting. We love it, honestly. Halfway through the deal, and I am loving it just as much as I have in the past. Like, genuinely, I love this book. I have zero complaints about anything to do with it. And I just want to say that Elle Kennedy does such a great job of creating so much chemistry between her characters before there's even a kindling of romantic interest between the two of them. Because Hannah and Garrett, like, they just have so much chemistry and work so well together as friends before they even remotely start to be interested in each other, that by the time that they finally, you know, start to get feelings for each other and they do that kiss, then they realize, like, oh shit, I think we like one another, but we're not going to tell each other. We're going to deny it. You are just, like, on the edge of your seat being like, please, what do I have to do to get you two together? I am enjoying Tuck. I think I'm watching more for Tuck now because I'm trying to be like, am I really missing out? And I do, like, I get it. Like, he is a cutie. It's not that I didn't like him. I just thought, like, between the four boys, he was always, like, my least favorite. But I get it. Like, he has small little moments here and there where I'm like, oh, Tuck, you're actually really cute. So they're out at Malone's right now, and Hannah's drinking because she can trust herself with Garrett. And it's so cute. I love the two of them so much. So Hannah just made all the guys dinner when they came back from practice, and just really, I think why I love these books so much, one of the reasons is I really love friendship groups that you can just tell genuinely love and care for each other, and they have like great chemistry together and banter and fun. And I think these books does such a good job of creating that friendship between the four boys. It just makes it so believable that they're all friends, and the jabs at one another, like, they're just very authentic characters and they just work well together, and it's fun to read. It makes you excited when any other side character pops up because you're just excited to have them in the scene and interacting. I think this is what I miss in the Briar U series. The Briar U series, I don't feel like does that as well, where these four guys, it's like, you know that they are ride or die for each other. Garrett Graham is single-handedly the most perfect man ever written in a contemporary book. Like, I don't think that will ever change my mind. I love Logan. I love Logan so much. Would I pick Logan over Garrett? I don't know. I can't say. But as much as I love Logan, I do just think that Garrett is genuinely the most perfect man ever written. I just finished, and fuck, this book was just as good as I remember it being. Like, literally no complaints here. I feel like I could literally reread this book every single year for years to come, and I think I would still love it just as much as the first time. There are certain books that I used to love that then when I've gone back and reread, I've been like, it's fine, but it's not as good as I remember it. That's not the case with this. This is still just as incredible. Garrett and Hannah just reign supreme, okay? They are the best couple in this entire series. No questions, no arguments, just facts. It is dreary and nasty outside today, and the perfect day to jump into the mistake. I'm so excited. This has always been my favorite. I really hope that I love it just as much as I have in the past, because here's the thing, everyone does not like this one. This is everyone's like least favorite, and it's always been my favorite. So I'm kind of worried. I'm like, did I like was I wrong the first time that I read it? I don't know. I hope that it stands up as much as The Deal does. So I'm 50 pages in, and again, I'm loving this just as much as I did when I first read it. Here's the thing. This book has one of the things that I don't like, which is insta-love. It's not insta-love, but by like page 20, they're kissing. And normally I'm like, get out of here with that. I love a slow burn. I've talked about it before. I really hate insta-love. And if they're kissing by like chapter 5, then I'm like bored. I'm like, literally, what's the point? But in this book, it works for some reason. And I don't know if it's because they're not necessarily all of a sudden like, we love each other and we're into each other and we want to date. And it is more just like a hookup kind of thing that just makes it work. And they're not both all of a sudden looking at each other and being like, oh my God, they're perfect. So I think that's why in this book, this like sped up timeline just works for me. I still don't like Ramona. Only 50 pages in, and again, I remember why we dislike her. I think I'm like a little over halfway through. Actually, I am over halfway through, and I haven't even been able to stop to update because I literally just don't want to stop reading this. I echo a lot of the same things in the deal. Like the writing sometimes is cheesy, like when Morris and Logan Bradgelina themselves, and they like acknowledge that, but it just fits. Like the writing just works for me. I feel like some people try to write in this kind of style and it just flops, but this just hits on like all levels for me. And I just love Logan so much, and I'm so loving being back with him. I like that with this too, that at the beginning it was kind of like so fast, but then you have this long break of them being apart in the middle, and Grace holds out for, I feel like, kind of the perfect amount of time and like rejecting Logan, because I think any sooner and it would have been like, really, so we just went through all the separation for nothing, and any longer I would have been annoyed. I would have just been like, we all know you're gonna get with him at some point, so just do it. And it's kind of like the perfect timing, I feel like. And really, again, I have zero complaints about this book. It's just like everything works for me. It hits different again. This scene hits once again when Logan swoops in at that hotel to save Ramona, or not really, just kind of to pick her up from some other school's hockey dudes who like locked her in their hotel room and took her phone. First of all, literally, men, it's a no from me. Unless if you're Garrett or Logan, or pretty much any fictional men written by women, because they're just better. I'm sorry. And the cold rage that he has in this, I just live for. I've talked about this before in other reading vlogs, that when there's like a cold rage, like a Rowan in Kingdom of Ash when he rescues Aelin, or like a Reese whenever someone makes a sly comment about Feyre, or like a Luca when someone comes after Arya. Like, it's just, that cold rage gets me every time. And Logan has that in here, and I just, literally, I don't need much more than that. It's just, it does something for me. Another scene that just absolutely gets me in this book is John going home and having to help his dad. The sheer like care that he has for his dad, and the love that he has, and also the love that he has for his brother, for being like, this has been his life and like I can sacrifice this. It's just like, John, oh, I love you. And then when he goes to Grace's dad's house afterwards to pick her up, and he's like, he left, but her dad can clearly see that something's wrong, and he just starts crying in front of him. We love a man who is not afraid to show his emotions. And there's just something about that scene. And it's like, you forget that beneath this like party, free spirit kind of vibe that he tries to give out to everyone, he has so much like shit going on in his life. And he has a lot of real world responsibilities that a lot of the other characters and just like that are around don't have. Also, I forgot to include this earlier, but also, it's hot that he's like a mechanic. I know that's like weird, but something about him, like how Grace said, like working with his hands and just knowing how to like do shit to a car. There's just something about that I find attractive. John Logan can fucking get it. I just finished, again, 2 down in 2 days, and I'm still loving them just as much as I did the first time that I read them. And I still want to say The Mistake is my favorite. When I say that though, I mean it. Like, it is just my favorite, like a teeny tiny bit more than The Deal. There is just really something about Grace and Logan that I find really endearing. I think some of the drama in this book I like a little more than The Deal. Like some of the relationship problems. Like, I don't love the whole thing with Garrett's dad, like telling Hannah to break up with him. I don't necessarily like love that storyline. Like, fine, I don't hate it, but I kind of like some of the drama more with Grace and Logan. I feel like I could reread this book every few months and really never get sick of it. I'm comfortable, and therefore will once again we're just gonna stick with the bad angles. That way I don't have to get up. Okay, I'm 8 chapters into The Score. What seems to be like everyone's favorite book with Dean, and I do like Dean, and I'm liking this book again so far. I think it's just like, I don't feel any sort of like extra like oomph towards Allie or Dean like I do with Grace, Logan, and Hannah and Garrett. I don't know why. Like, it's that intangible thing with those characters that I just don't feel with these. Dean and Bo were just having drinks at the bar, and I definitely appreciate Bo more so in rereads, just knowing R to the I to the P, man, just knowing what comes in this book. And especially I like this one rereading it too when they're like, where's Tucker at? And I'm like, I know where Tuck's at. I do think that this one right from the get-go seems to take on a much more lighthearted tone than the other two. They both are still light in their own ways, but I feel this one, just Dean really brings like such a sense of playfulness to the book, which is fun. And I definitely get why people love Dean. Like, some of the shit that he says is just outrageous and it's entertaining. I am a fucking idiot. Also, excuse the beach noises that I have playing on my TV. I'm not gonna bother to pause it for this. So Dean and Allie are out at the bar and they're like playing songs over the bar's sound system to like mess with each other. And She Turned On You in Your Hand by Pink. And I don't think I ever registered that in this book. / I've never registered that song and that song title and what it actually means. I remember having that on my like iPod Nano back in whatever, 2000 whatever. When I was in maybe like 5th grade and singing along to that song and loving it. And I never put that together in my adult life, that song whatsoever. Wow. Thank you, Dean and Allie, for just clearing that up for me. I'm so stupid. I have about like 80 pages left in the score. And they finally just told Hannah and Garrett about their relationship. And I love that scene. There is something that just like hits my heart emotionally when Sean shows up, yells at Allie, and then Allie just needs Dean. And she's like, call Dean. And Hannah's like, what the fuck? Literally, why? And then that's how it all comes out. It's just that's so cute, Dean running over there. There's just something about that I love. It's a little like damsel in distress-y. And it just works in this. However, I will just say, I'm still enjoying this as I did when I first read it, but it definitely, the story just lacks something for me. It's not drawing me in like the other two do. I still love it, don't get me wrong. There's not necessarily anything wrong with it. I like a lot of the elements. Like, I like Dean working with the little kids, and I like Dean and Allie together. But I think part of it is Allie isn't my favorite character. I don't really connect with her in any way, shape, or form. And it's not even just like on a relatability level, because they're like other characters that I'm like, I don't relate to at all, but they just have that pull for me. And Allie really lacks that for me, where I like Dean and I'm drawn to him, but I'm not drawn to him as much as Logan or Garrett. And I think that's because Logan and Garrett almost have like an innate sadness to them in a bit, like a little bit of heaviness to them, like a little broodiness that Dean just lacks. Like, Dean is just a fun-loving guy, and yes, obviously the events that are going to take place in the last 80 pages of this book change that a bit for him, but up until now, like, he's a pretty happy-go-lucky guy, and I just think like that I'm not necessarily as drawn to in a character. I appreciate having them around. I love Dean and he's a breath of fresh air, but it's just, for me personally, is that ever going to be my favorite character? No, I prefer someone who's like got a little bit of darkness to them. So it was just the scene where Dean's helping Dakota learn how to skate and Allie's looking on, and I get it. Like, I get it. That's a super sweet scene, and seeing Dean with the kids, I get why people love this book and why they're like, Dean with hard eyes. I understand, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because like I'm not the biggest fan of kids. Like, I'm not a great kid person, so maybe that's part of it, that I don't watch it, and how Allie's like, my ovaries are exploding, like mine don't. So okay, so Allie and Dean are talking about her dad and how she's worried about if she moves out to LA and something happens to him, that she can't just drop this job or say like, hey, I got to go back to New York for a few weeks, and that it's a burden kind of for her to think about leaving and being far away from her dad. And I think this is what makes these books work, is that they are very lighthearted and they are very fun, and the characters are playful, and there's a lot of banter, and there's just a lot of like college-y kind of times, but they deal with some pretty serious issues. Like in the first book with Hannah and Garrett, it's dealing with sexual assault and physical assault and domestic violence. And then the second book, we're dealing with alcoholism with Logan's dad. And then this third book, we're dealing with Allie having to take care of her ailing father. And then we're going to deal with Bo's death with Dean. And I mean, Tucker and Sabrina's book is a different kind of like serious circumstance, but it's just these lighthearted moments that balance really well with these real world issues that ground the book in a way and doesn't just make it all fluff and fun. One scene earlier that I'm like, literally, what is the point of this? Was when Summer showed up and Allie hit him over the head with a paperweight and like thought that he was an intruder. Like that whole couple of chapters, I was like, literally, why? Like, I just felt like that could have been completely cut out. It was just kind of a waste of time. I feel like it was more to set up Summer for Briar U, which is fine. I didn't mind if Summer came to visit, but the whole like paperweight thing, I was just kind of like, and I remember that feeling out of place the first time I read it too. Like, I feel like that could have been cut out of the book and we wouldn't have lost anything, or like it could have been something different with Summer, you know? So Dean just missed Allie's play opening night, and ooh, that fight is great. I mean, not great to see Dean struggling, but I kind of like this darker side of Dean. Is that bad that I like it when he's in emotional distress? That says more about me. So you know what? I already know it's fucked up. I finished the score. Again, I'd still keep my rating at 5 out of 5 stars. That's what I rated it the first time that I read it. There are the certain things that I've already noted before that like don't necessarily work for me. And The Mistake and the Deal, I definitely like much more than this, but I would still give it a 5-star read because I do just truly enjoy it. Now we're on to The Goal, the fourth and final book, at least in this. I remember liking Tucker, I remember liking Sabrina, and I remember liking this book, but this is the only book in the series that I gave 4 out of 5 stars originally. So I'm interested to see if my rating changes at all on the reread, if I end up liking it more, if I end up liking it less. I doubt I'm gonna end up liking it less because these books I just fucking love. Also, like, John Tucker Must Die. Anyone? Iconic movie. Iconic. Oh my god. First chapter and I forgot how much I fucking hate Ray. Her stepfather. He's just disgusting and he's so over the top where I'm like, I have no doubt that men like him exist because why the fuck not? But he's just so disgusting and over the top and just like, bro, I don't want to fucking read about you. Like, if you had a heart attack in your recliner, like, I genuinely would not miss you in this story whatsoever. I'm sorry, that sounds horrible, but it's true. I hate his character. I mean, like chapter 3 Tucker, it's always the quiet ones. I think I'm liking Sabrina more this time around than I did the first time I read this book. However, I'm not sure. I like Tuck, but again, some of the stuff, he just comes on very strong. And I think that's one of the things that it's like, I don't necessarily love that. Where like, yes, Garrett was very persistent with Hannah, but that was like to get her to tutor him. Like, it wasn't to get together. So I think that's part of it. Like, again, with Logan and Grace, it didn't feel like that, or with Dean and Allie, where with this, I'm just like, dude, you are like trying really hard. And not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just, to me, like, I prefer a little bit more of like a chase in books. And I feel like Tucker, you know, he does all the chasing and none of the being chased. I get that he's like the Southern gentleman kind. That's not typically like my type, and like real life or in books, I'm not like really drawn to that at all. So I'm halfway through, and so Sabrina found out that she's pregnant, and it's only been like 3 chapters or so since then. And here's my thing, I think, of why this book, while I like it, like I'm liking it more on the reread still, I just wish that there was more involvement of the past characters that we've gotten with. Because I feel like in The Deal, we got so much of the 3 guys. And then in The Mistake, we still got a lot of the boys. And then we got Hannah and Garrett. And then in the score, we got the past 2 couples. And then we also got some of Tuck. I mean, not as much of Tuck because obviously this is going on at the same time and he's like not around. And I just kind of miss that like bro-y family atmosphere of the 4 guys being around. Like, they're just not really involved that much. I think for it to be halfway through and for them not even to know about him and Sabrina, it just like takes away a little bit of the enjoyment for me, because part of what I love so much is the friendship dynamics in this, and we don't get that really in this one. And I personally don't really like Sabrina and Dean's beef. I don't really get it. I get that they could like not like each other, and that she could be annoyed at him and thinking that he's like this rich douchebag, and like that's fine. But for their rivalry to be like this extreme almost, and like the way that they each talk about each other, I'm just like, this seems a little too much just for like this misunderstanding. But I will say I'm enjoying this more on the reread. I'm really appreciating Sabrina so much more, and I'm really liking Tucker more. I'm liking both of them more on the reread. A real life person that's Tucker, like he would just be the kind of guy that you would want your friends to like date, because you know that they were well taken care of. Where like me, I still prefer a Logan, but that's on me. Dean is such an asshole to Sabrina in that scene where he's telling her that she basically ruined Tuck's life. And it's like, I get it, Dean. You're trying to be like a good friend and like watch out for your buddy, and like you've had some history with this girl and you maybe don't think that she's like the best thing for him. But you gotta stay out of their way now that they have a fucking child. If they were just dating, okay, go off. But they are literally bringing a child into the world together, and Dean's such a dick about it. What the hell? Yeah, they resolved it at the end, but it's like, dude, why? Why did you have to do that? You don't see Garrett or Logan doing that. Okay, I know I said I was going to save my rankings for the guys at the end, and I'm still going to. However, I feel like Tuck's position might be threatened just because of his mom. Like, I could not deal. I couldn't deal. She's just like the overbearing mother-in-law. No, thank you. I know that in the last, like in the epilogue chapter, Sabrina's like, oh, we get along great now that she knows that I love him. And I'm like, it shouldn't take that for her to just be like a nice human being. So Dean's family maybe pulls him up in the ranks a bit for me over Tuck's mom. But I did just finish the goal, and I definitely have to say I definitely liked it more this time around. Last time I read it, I gave it 4 out of 5, and I think I would still probably keep that. It's not a 5 out of 5 for me. I think I'd maybe give it like a 4.5, but it'd be on like the lower side. I don't know. I do love this book, but it doesn't just have that like little tingle factor for me that certain of my favorite books just have. Okay, we've officially finished. We're back. Let's revisit the rankings and also just any final little thoughts that I had. I feel like I pretty much said it all in all of my vlog footage, that this series still stands up over time to me. This is a series that I genuinely don't think I will ever get sick of. Okay, so let's revisit my book ranking again first, because that's, I think, what I ranked first when I recorded the first part of this. So still at number 1, I'm gonna have to put The Mistake. I really do think these could be like neck and neck, but I just truly love Grace and Logan and their relationship, and I think the way that they met is very just like organic in such a cute way. I think Grace is a super underrated character. I'm gonna get to that when I do my character rankings, but truly this is just my number 1 ride or die. Obviously followed number 2 by The Deal. I mean, this is just like top tier romance for me. So these are, okay, so I just realized, so these are gonna stay, I think, the same as that I ranked them before, because I'm gonna put the score at number 3 and the goal at number 4. However, some of my other rankings definitely did change character-wise. For couples, I ended up keeping the same rankings. I do still have Garrett and Hannah as number 1, Logan and Grace at number 2, Allie and Dean at number 4, and Sabrina and Tucker at 5. However, let's jump into the characters themselves. For the guys, John Logan, number 1, reigns supreme, no questions, no comments. And then followed very closely, obviously, by Garrett. And then John Tucker and Dean De Laurentiis last. I know I might give some flack for putting Dean last, because Dean is like everyone's favorite. And on the reread, I like Dean a lot, and I really like his book, and I like his character and his storyline. However, he's just never going to be a character, like I've said, that I am going to be like super drawn to. Where Tucker just like really kind of amped it up for me on the second read. Yes, there were things that like he did that I was like, he's trying a little too hard, and that's not necessarily my favorite, but really the way that he like stepped up and was so patient, and he's just like a mature grown-up that I did have to put Tucker above him, although his mom almost tanked him because we don't deal with like fussy mother-in-laws. I really love Dean's storyline, and I love the aftermath of Beau's death and how Dean has to like for the first time kind of work through some things in his life. So I do really appreciate that about Dean. However, I really don't like his beef with Sabrina, and I really don't like how he acted in the goal. Yes, that was resolved, but it just kind of put a bit of a damper on Dean for me. With that said, I still love him. I really have no qualms with any of these characters, but I did have to switch those two around. Now, with that said, with the girls, I did switch these ones up again too. So I would put Grace at number 1. I just really love Grace. I'll get to that. Hannah at number 2. Sabrina at number 3 and Allie at number 4. So I did switch these around. Hannah and Grace really could like go back and forth with me, kind of similar to Garrett and Logan. I mean, if you should know by now that those two just kind of are constantly competing for the top spot. But I just really love Grace, and I think she's very underrated, and people say that she's boring, but I don't see that. Just because she doesn't have like these huge life events or these really like traumatic experiences doesn't mean that she's a boring character. She has some of the best growth, I think, throughout the books. I mean, I think all of the girls besides Allie have like a pretty big arc in their character. And I think Grace, when she comes back that sophomore year, she's cut out toxic people. She's made big changes in her life with getting a new job, getting a new group of friends. She's really like putting her foot down with Logan. And she looked back on her freshman year and was like, I wasn't living for myself. I want to live for myself now. And she did that, and she made that happen. And I applaud her, and I love that for her. And again, I just think there are so many cute scenes between her and Logan. Like when he shows up to kiss her in the cafeteria. Get out of here. Get out of here, Logan. Hannah, I don't really have a reason for her being number 2. It's just that this time around, I was just like, I think I was more in tune with Grace, so I bumped her up a bit. Sabrina at number 3, I appreciated Sabrina a lot more this reread because I did not really love Sabrina the first time. I thought that she was just a little bit too cold, but I really felt like I understood her character a lot more, and I understood her motivations and why she acted the way that she did towards Tucker and her decision making. Like, I just felt like I understood her more. I could never. She has way more perseverance and strength than I could ever hope for. So Sabrina at number 3 and Allie at number 4. Again, I don't really have anything against Allie. It's just in the scheme of the 4 girls, she's at the bottom of my list. I don't necessarily connect with her that much. I do like her character, and I like moments between her and Dean. But again, she doesn't have that draw for me that Hannah and Grace both do. So that's this video. I think I am gonna end up doing this with Briar U as well. I'll kind of do a similar style video, I think, of like rankings, rereads, seeing what opinions change of mine. However, I will just say there is no way in hell that the Briar U series is going to pass this up. I already know that the off-campus series, I feel like, is definitely better than the Briar U series. I still love the Briar U series, but this is just where it's at. So anyways, I hope you guys liked this. I like doing reading vlogs, and I like rereading books. Yeah, I'll see you when I see ya.